Good morning and welcome to Friday with the Rev. As you can tell, I'm back in New York City here in my home after some wonderful trips out to the Midwest and down to Florida, where I've been sharing family caregiving. Yesterday, I had the great privilege of spending the entire day at the United Nations. I have the privilege of being part of the UN NGO Committee on Aging and have been for many years. Yesterday was the 28th anniversary of the UN, we call it IDOP, the International Day of Older Persons. Now, I admit when I began attending, I wasn't one of them. I definitely am now. But I wanted to share because it was an extraordinarily wonderful day. Considering so much chaos that's going on in the world and certainly here in America, to have a day of discussions of human rights, of dignity, of caring. And for me, it was thrilling to hear speaker after speaker, including in their verbiage, family caregivers or carers, as we are known in much of the world. So I wanted to share that with you because it's an extraordinarily important thing for each of us to remember. And we're beginning to prepare for November here in America, which is National Family Caregiver Month. And so this morning I'm going to begin. I was blessed, as many of us were, who read the Daily Word here in America, around the world, frankly, with today's reading. It's on collaboration. And I thought that sets the tone for everything that I had been hoping to share with you today. It begins with a reading from Corinthians. For we are God's servants, working together. You are God's field, God's building. And this is what's written. I am an advocate for peace and harmony. All people are children of God, and our commonalities outnumber our differences. I hold this thought anytime I am called to collaborate with others, whether in work, social, or family settings. I see everyone as worthy of my respect, even if we have differing opinions and views. I look for common ground, for ideas that we share and ways that we can work together. I am open-minded and non-resistant. I am a good listener who values all opinions and ideas. If I sense resistance, I stop for a God moment in which I close my eyes, breathe deeply, and focus on common ground. I pray for understanding and compassion, and see myself as an advocate and moderator, working with others in peace and harmony. And may that be so. This morning, I want to talk about some great collaborators. They're called family caregivers. And I'm purposefully doing this here in early October, because I want to encourage each of you, wherever you may be watching from around the world. And I'm thrilled to say that I'm receiving emails and notes from people as far away as South Africa, from Nepal, from in New Zealand, certainly from Indonesia. And that's thrilling because we are united in caregiving. Now, one of the things that we learned early on, and this goes back nearly 20 years ago, when Emblem Health very kindly gave me my ministry by calling me to create the Care for the Family Caregiver program at Emblem Health. It wasn't done as a religious doing, it was a business decision that the third leg of the healthcare stool needed to be focused on, the often silent patients, the family caregivers. And one of the things that we have come to learn through the building of the New York City Family Caregiver Coalition, through the hundreds and hundreds of conferences that I've been privileged to attend, the seminars that I've been part of and listened to, we constantly have been increasing the awareness and the many faces of family caregiving. Now, in a former broadcast, I talked about family, family of origin, family of choice. Today, I want to focus on that second word, caregiving. Because without question, and it's very interesting, I have it on my iPad. Yes, I feel very technological. I'm talking to you on a computer and using an iPad. That's progress. And I share that. But I need to keep this list because it has grown so much and I don't want to leave off anyone. But I will admit that when I was invited to create this, I immediately thought caregivers, of course, my grandparents. I was blessed to know all four of my grandparents. They were dead by the time this all came about. But that's where my mind went immediately. And I must admit the person asking me was also thinking in terms of a senior. Well, we are, and now I am a senior. We are a very important part of being cared for, but we are also caregivers. Because as I often like to say, in this age of extended length of life, many seniors are caring for seniors. I know so many over at the Marble Collegiate Church of seniors who are caring for seniors, people who are of the old, people 85 and beyond. Sociology, they keep defining it. I'm glad I have a category to which to aspire. But that's only one. We also have seniors caring for grandchildren. Think about that. That's called kinship. And it's without question one of the leading forms of family caregiving here in New York City. And for those of you who really want to see one of the great examples, and this was church-based originally, Presbyterian Senior Services, PSS as it's known here in New York, and how it would be found if you Googled it, built up in the Bronx an entire apartment house dedicated to grandparents raising grandchildren. And sociologically, we refer to that as kinship, because it may not always be grandparents, but it's very much intergenerational. So that is also another form of family caregiving. And then to take the opposite end, it's the children who are caregivers. Don't ever deny the wonderful talents of young people. They get computers. They can do the research. Feel free to invite them in, and you're also allowing them to share in the caregiving. We have long-distance caregiving, people who are moving about and caring for a loved one far away. I was just out to see my mother in the Midwest. Now, that's only like 1,000 miles away, but it is long-distance caregiving, in which case my sister, who lives in that area, is the primary caregiver, and role definition is very important. We also have end of life in the middle of life. The AIDS crisis was a prime example of that caregiving situation. Chronic conditions, do they know an age? No. And that's caregiving. The veterans. This is an area that the New York City Family Caregiver Coalition became very much involved with during the very sad Iran and Iraq controversies. Wars. I must use the right word. The wars of today are different from wars in the past. The wounds are chronic conditions. And because of that, many of the grandparents are stepping up and helping out in the world of family caregiving. And so what do we have? Kinship. Well, we had information, and we particularly wanted to get to the world of veterans the ability to go to caregiving coalitions, of which there are some 90 throughout the country, as well as the AAAs, which are the Area Agencies on Aging. Now, I'm not talking travel agencies. AAA, within the caregiving world, sociology, are the Area Agencies on Aging. And you can get that by Googling it and finding local references. So we found that working with the Veterans Department, that indeed, through the chaplains, we were able to make a difference. And we continue with those efforts as well, along with a lot of wonderful, wonderful people. There is help, and that's what we always want people to know. Also, Caregiving disease specific. Without question, Alzheimer's is the greatest teacher of family caregiving because there is no cure at this point, but there is enormous care and caregiving. And here in New York, we are very blessed to have what I consider to be the ultimate authority on Alzheimer's and the family caregiver. And that's a magnificent organization named Caring Kind. Caring Kind. Go to it no matter where you live. There are resources that can very much help you. And then recently, last year, many of you remember, I had the privilege of participating in the Diaspora Conference in Indonesia. And right now I'm working on a book with Imam Shamsi Ali on the diasporas. These are people who go thousands and thousands of miles away. They're the ultimate long-distance caregiver, but they can't go home for the weekend. So how, through technology, can they be helping? Now, in addition, there are two other faces that I want to quickly share with you because we don't always think of these. One is the caregiver who is also being cared for. There are many people who have caregiving roles within their family and their families of origin, families of choice. But they also are being cared for with perhaps a disease-specific situation or some other reason for which they too need care. We forget that, but it's the multiple roles that people play. And then, and I cannot remember the name of the film, but I will get it. We did a symposium up at Fordham University, and one of the professors up there, a very brilliant woman, who has done a great deal of work in prison work, brought to our attention prisoners caring for prisoners. And that was a powerful, powerful educational experience and a powerful example of family caregiving. Now, why do I tell you about all these faces? Because it truly expands our understanding of it. And in today's world, most people are not dealing with just one family caregiving issue. And when we forget that, we forget all the pressures that are coming upon these people. It's not just one person, or maybe two, what used to be called the sandwich generation, where you're caring for someone older and someone younger. That's not always the case. I often say we're in the club sandwich generation because we have so many layers of concern and of care. And so it's important for us to realize, and all of that, by the way, in addition to caring for ourselves. Now that's a big load. I don't know about you, but caring for me gets a little more complicated every day. Now you add all these people whom people love. That is a great responsibility, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And therefore, we need to name it. When you talk to someone who's a caregiver, name it. Thank them for being an incredible family caregiver. Tell them how important they are in the healthcare system. When you call someone to check on someone who is ill, begin your conversation with, "Good morning, how are you doing?" They'll be quite shocked, but it's very important because without that caregiver, that care recipient is going to have a much more difficult role. And then use the word in conversation. Now, we over at the Marble Collegiate Church have done it in a very unique way. As you know, I have the privilege of doing the prayer circle each week at Marble. And when we pray for the many, many people whose names have been requested, members, friends, and so forth, and you're always welcome to send in those prayer requests, we not only pray for the names of the persons, but at the conclusion of our prayer, we give thanks for the professional caregivers, meaning the doctors, the therapists, the clergy, everyone who's involved in the caregiving world professionally. We pray for the professional caregivers, and we give thanks for the family caregivers and pray healing and strength for them. Now, I can't begin to tell you how that has changed the dynamic at Marble as we talk about health and wellness. The family caregiver now has a place at the table. It is part of the words that we use. It is the role we honor. Not more than any other. No. I'm not asking that. But I am asking that we name it and know its many faces. And you can make a difference in your community, in your church, temple, mosque, whatever organization, whether it be a social organization. Remember the word family and the other word caregiver. It's very important. Now, if you would like to be in touch with me, and again, I'm going to put this in front of me so that I say it correctly. I'm always thrilled to hear from you. And the two best ways for you to be in touch with me, one is through Emblem Health. And again, I remind you that this book, Care for the Family Caregiver, A Place to Start, is available in English, in Spanish, and in Chinese. And we're very happy to send the PDFs or the hard copies, depending on quantity, to you. For that, simply write to me at gjohnson@emblemhealth.com. One word, emblemhealth.com. If you would like to send in prayer requests, if you would like to know more about Marble Collegiate Church, if you would like to come and join us on Sunday for prayer circle, it's 10 a.m. If you're free on Wednesday, we do one at 11 o'clock in the middle of the week. Come and join us. We would love to see you. And you can write to me there as well at gjohnson@marblechurch.org. I also spend time in counseling at Marble on family caregiving for our members and congregation. I'm happy to talk with you as well, for you are part of our extended family. Now, to close our broadcast this morning, I'm going to read a prayer that I have loved. I love acronyms, and one acronym that I heard long ago, and I think it's so appropriate for all the things that we certainly here in America are going through presently. The acronym is for the word push. Now, we in New York, we get blamed for being pushy. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about continuity. I'm talking about continuation and push. Pray until something happens, and it will. So join me as we pray together. Pray without ceasing, and it is so. Pray until every waking moment is a moment of prayer in thought, word, and deed. In everything give thanks. Push. Pray until something happens, and it will. Pray without ceasing until it brings peace and serenity. Pray until you are one with the spirit of the universe. God is ready to help. Pray without ceasing and let the thought of God be the balm for your fears, your worries, and your pain. Pray without ceasing until you find healing for your hurts, your feelings, and your emotional wounds. Pray without ceasing until your doubts, fears, and insecurities vanish, as you affirm God can and will solve this problem. And it is so. And as you pray, let love, peace, joy, assurance, power, clarity, and serenity flow within you, so that in turn it may be given away. For as we receive, so do we give. With God, we can have tolerance and joy to live and let live. Pray without ceasing, giving thanks always. Amen and amen. God bless you. Thank you for being with me this morning, And I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to seeing you next week, Friday, with the Rev. God bless.